Hello, welcome back to GodsMeds. Today we're talking about the internal anatomy of the kidney. In our last video, we talked about the external anatomy of the kidney. And so today we'll be looking into renal segmentation and the internal anatomy of the kidney. In our last video, we talked about that the renal segmentation depends on how the renal artery is branching off into the kidney from the abdominal aorta. So today, let's dive into it now. So this is the abdominal aorta between the lumbar vertebrae L1 and L2. And this is the renal artery. So let me quickly label that now. So here we have the abdominal aorta, and this is the renal artery. Renal artery. All right. So the renal artery comes off between the lumbar vertebrae 1 and lumbar vertebrae 2. Okay, and it branches into the kidney. All right, so it branches into the kidney and divides into two divisions, the posterior division and the anterior division. So this is the anterior division of the renal artery, and this is the posterior division of the renal artery. So the anterior division of the renal artery continues into the kidney anteriorly and gives off four segmental artery. Remember, we said that renal segmentation depends on how the renal artery branches inside of the kidney. So here, the anterior division of the renal artery comes into the kidney and divides into four segmental branches. So from here now, we can see the anterior view of the right kidney. And from here, we can also note the segmentation of the kidney. So the renal artery, the anterior division, comes here and divides into four segments. These segments are, first off, it gives off a superior segment, a superior segmental artery, okay, then gives off a superior anterior segmental artery, then an inferior anterior segmental artery, and lastly an inferior segmental artery. So these are the four segmental artery that the anterior division of the renal artery gives off inside of the kidney. So it gives off four segmental artery. First, the superior segmental artery. Then next is the superior anterior segmental artery, then the inferior anterior segmental artery, and the inferior segmental artery. These are the four branches it gives off. So let's come here now. The superior segmental artery. The superior segmental artery comes to the superior segment. So here is the superior segment of the kidney. The superior segment. So this artery here is the superior segmental artery. That comes to the superior segment. So I'm going to label this as the superior segmental artery. The superior segmental, I'm going to abbreviate it as segmental artery. Okay, so the superior segmental artery comes to the superior segment. Then the anterior superior segmental artery. This is the anterior superior segmental artery. This artery here is a superior anterior segmental artery. All right, so it comes here to the superior anterior segment of the kidney. So this segment here is the superior anterior segment. Superior anterior segment. Then the next segmental artery, which is the inferior anterior segmental artery, which is this artery here, the inferior anterior segmental artery comes to the inferior anterior segment, which is this segment here. This is the inferior anterior segment. Then lastly, the inferior segmental artery, which is this last artery here. The inferior segmental artery. So this is the inferior segmental artery. So comes here to the inferior segment, to the inferior segment. Okay, so these are the divisions of the anterior branch of the renal artery. Gives off 4 segmental artery, which branches into the 4 segments of the kidney: the superior segment, the superior anterior segment, the inferior anterior segment, and the inferior segment. So we have now the superior segmental artery, superior anterior segmental artery, which corresponds to the segment. Now let's go to the posterior division. The posterior division continues posteriorly behind the pelvis. It continues posteriorly here and gives off just 1 segmental artery, which is the posterior segmental artery. So it gives us just 1 segmental artery which branches into the kidney, which enters into the kidney. Okay, so from here, this, let's say here, from here we can see the posterior segment. So from here we can see the posterior segment. This here is the posterior segment, the posterior segment, to the posterior segment. So the posterior division just give off 1 posterior segmental artery, posterior segmental artery, which comes to the posterior segment. So let me quickly label that too. Here, this artery here as the posterior segmental artery. This artery here is the posterior segmental artery. So this is how the renal artery branches into the kidney. So we'll come back to how they continue into the kidney, but first off, let's look into the internal anatomy of the kidney. Let's look into the internal anatomy of the kidney. The internal anatomy of the kidney is divided into 2 parts. It's divided into 2 parts. We have the renal cortex and the renal medulla. The renal cortex, which is this part, or here is the renal cortex, while here is the renal medulla. So the renal cortex is about 3 to 4 millimeter thick and is reddish brown in color. Okay, and the renal medulla consists of the renal pyramid. It consists of the renal pyramid. So everything here is the renal medulla. So the renal medulla consists of the renal pyramids. So these are the renal pyramids. In a kidney, there can be up to 8 or more pyramids in a kidney. Okay, so these are the renal pyramid. They are pyramidal in shape. That's why we call them the renal pyramids. So the renal pyramid has a base and an apex. The base of the renal pyramid, this is the base of the renal pyramid. So the base of the renal pyramid is directed towards the cortex. So here is the cortex of the kidney, and here is the medulla. So this is the base of the renal pyramid. It is directed towards the cortex. While here is the apex of the renal pyramid. Remember, renal pyramid is also called the McPherson pyramid. So let me quickly label that now. The renal pyramid is also called the McPherson pyramid. So here we have the renal pyramid, which is also called the McPherson pyramid, So now the apex continues into the minor callus. So this is the minor callus. I will label that later on. Okay, so the apex of this renal pyramid has an opening called the papillary duct. So the apex of the renal pyramid is called the papilla. So here is the papilla. So I'm going to just label it in this direction. Here is the papilla. The apex is called the papilla, while the base is directed towards the cortex. So here is the apex of the renal pyramid, which is called the papilla of the renal pyramid. The papilla of the renal pyramid has an opening which opens into the minor calice. So here is the minor calice. These are the minor calices. All right. So this opening is called the papillary dot. So this opening, there's a little opening here in the apex. This opening is called the papillary dot. The papillary dot. The papillary dot. The papillary dot is also called the dot of Bellini. So we can call it the dot of Bellini. Of Bellini. All right, the dot of Bellini. So now it continues into the minor calice, which means here is the minor calice. So these are the minor calices. Okay, these are the minor calices. So it continues into the minor calice. Let me just quickly label here as the minor calice. Minor calice. Minor calice. While the minor calice continues into the major calice. So here is the major calice. This area is the major calice. So let me label here as the major calice. Major calice. All right. So this is the renal pyramid. Now, if you look closely, you find that there are spaces between this pyramid. There are spaces between this pyramid. These are called the renal columns. These are called the renal columns. The renal columns. So let me put that as the renal columns. Here we have the renal column. The renal column is also called Bettine's column. We can also call it the Bettine's column. Bettine's column. We can call it the Bettine's column. The cortex have some projections. So these columns are just projections of the cortex. These columns, these spaces between them are just projections of the cortex. So the cortex have some projections inside. It has some projections. So the projections are just this. It has some projections. So the projections between the renal pyramid is called the renal column or Bettine's column. Now, if you look closely, there are some projections from the base of the renal pyramid towards the cortex also. There are some projections from the base of the renal pyramid towards the cortex. These are called the medullary rails. These are called the medullary rails. Medullary rails. These are called the medullary rails. So the medullary rails, in between the medullary rails, there are some darker portions of these medullary rails, which are called the cortex cortices. The cortex cortices. All right. So these are just the projections of the medulla. Okay, called the medullary rails. The medullary rails. All right. So this is the internal anatomy of the kidney. So let's continue now. How does the segmental arteries branch now continue inside of the kidney? How do they continue inside of the kidney? All right. So let's see now how they continue. Now, the segmental artery continues as the interlobar arteries. Interlobar arteries. So before moving to the interlobar arteries, let's say what is a renal lobe first, so we can understand what an interlobar artery is. What is a renal lobe? A renal lobe is a renal pyramid alongside with its surrounding cortex. A renal pyramid with its surrounding cortex is called a renal lobe. So this is like an enlarged renal lobe. Okay, like an enlarged renal lobe. So now the segmental artery continues as the interlobar arteries. So they come here. This is the interlobar segmental artery. So they come here, they divide as they continue as the interlobar artery, because they run between the lobes of the kidney. They continue as the interlobar arteries. So these are the interlobar arteries. So because they are running between the lobes of the kidney, that's what we call them the interlobar arteries. So let me quickly label that as the interlobar artery. So since it's an artery, let me use the red pen for labeling. Let me use the red pen for labeling. So these are the interlobar arteries. Interlobar arteries. Interlobar arteries. Now, the interlobar arteries continues as the arcuate artery. So, the arcuate artery, what really happens is that when these interlobar arteries, when you come to the base of the renal pyramid, they converge in this manner. In this manner. They converge in this manner and they turn into the arcuate artery, the arcuate artery. So this is the arcuate artery. Let me label this as the arcuate artery. The arcuate artery. The arcuate artery. Now, the arcuate artery gives off other type of artery known as the interlobular. The interlobular arteries. The interlobular arteries. So they give off other type of arteries known as the interlobular arteries. The interlobular arteries. So these are the interlobular arteries. The interlobular arteries. Let me label that. Interlobular arteries. Interlobular arteries. Now, from this diagram here, from this enlarged renal lobe here, we can see now the interlobar artery here. This is the interlobar artery. Okay. Now it gives off what continues as the arcuate artery. So here we have the arcuate artery. The arcuate artery. Here is the interlobar artery. Okay. Here is the arcuate artery. The arcuate artery gives off the interlobular. These are the interlobular artery. Here we have the interlobular artery. The interlobular artery. That is this artery here, interlobular artery coming off from the arcuate artery. So here we have the interlobular artery. Okay. Now the interlobular artery gives off tiny arteries known as the afferent arteriole. Known as the afferent arteriole. So they give off tiny arteries known as the afferent arteriole, known as the afferent arterioles. So I'm going to label this now as the afferent, which means they are heading somewhere, they are going somewhere. All right, afferent arteriole. Here, so from this diagram here, from this enlarged renal lobe, we can see the afferent arteries, which are these. These are the afferent arteries. The afferent arteriole. So these are the afferent arteriole. Now the afferent arteriole continues into the glomerulus. It continues into the glomerulus and from the glomerular capillaries. So from there, it gives off an efferent arteriole or efferent glomerular arteriole. So when we look at the structure of the nephron, which is the functional unit of the kidney, the nephron is the functional unit of the kidney. So when we look at the structure of the nephron, we're going to see how the afferent arteriole continues into the glomerulus and gives off the efferent arteriole, which continues as the peritubular capillaries. So from this structure now, we see how the renal artery branches into the kidney, the renal segmentation, and also we saw the internal anatomy of the kidney, which is divided into the cortex and the medulla. So if you really enjoyed this video, please give us a like. Please don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section below, and please don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel for more videos.